Alright, so I'm going to review White Wolf, which is another book in the Gemmell saga. And this time we feature prominently the hero of Skilganon the Damned. And that's a hell of a name to carry, and I'll explain that in a little bit why he's gotten that. But I kind of want to talk about something which is a little misleading, I feel, on the cover of this book. And that is the story. Like, you can see quite clearly, like, once you get to reading the book, you understand the guy in the front part of the cover, obviously, is Skilganon. But then at the top is a banner that says, "A Novel of Druss the Legend." And we kind of see Druss in the background. Now, I didn't really think about that too much at the time, but as I got to reading it, it makes sense. Because Druss is in this book, but he's a secondary character. I'm kind of funny about this. No publisher should put a character's name at the top of the book featuring them, and then you throw false advertising that this is a book about them, because I don't like that. But, you know, that's just a little quip on me. Onto the story real quickly. The story basically tells about Skilganon, a priest who is residing in a city and is eventually run out because, you know, what it was, he used to be a general for this woman who calls herself the Witch Queen. Gianna the Witch Queen, who was a love from his past, and their story leading up to the present in this is told through flashbacks about how her parents are assassinated by King Gorban, and this ties heavily into the First Chronicles of Druss the Legend because at the time that was going on, I would say probably about 10 years prior to the events in this book, maybe. Druss was fighting against Gorban and his immortals, and apparently, I'm trying to recall, I think the Nashanites were fighting against the immortals, I can't remember, but anyways, Skilganon was among them, and he's basically tired of all the death and stuff that he sees, so he becomes a source priest for a couple of years. And eventually, there's a lot of violence in the town that's riled up by the soldiers of the Witch Queen to take out the source priests. And Skilganon, after seeing a bunch of his fellow priests injured, just like snaps and goes on a rampage and kills about 3 or 4 guys in the crowd, is able to scare off the mob, and eventually he goes on this little quest taking a fellow priest into the town of Melicane so he can get his rights, or take his final vows in order to be a full priest. And we have a little boy named Ravelin who comes along as kind of a refugee character in the story. Druss eventually joins him in battle, and they talk about that it's an uneasy friendship in between them. Excuse me. Druss is on a quest for Erastes. Actually, it's Erastes, the little character that was the chubby little craven from First Chronicles of Druss the Legend. He's missing, and they kind of play a game with it. It's quite obvious what happened to him. I actually didn't pick up on it the first time I did, but what happens to him is kind of tragic. We have Jerry Ann in this story, who is a bit of a schizophrenic who joins the group, and I know there's at least like one other soldier from that fought with Druss at in the battle with the immortals, and I can't remember his name right now. He's a character, and you have this whole slew of characters. I have a lot of quips with this book besides the fact, I mean, like, the book's good, but there are a few quips that I have with this. I'll get to those in a minute. I need to address Skilganon's name real quick. Skilganon basically gets his name because he was the Witch Queen's former general, and he left her service. And the way that he got his name was that she ordered him to slaughter, or ordered his men to slaughter every inhabitant in the city of Parapolis. And even though Skilganon didn't carry this out himself, people associate that act with him because he was the one in charge, and they called him the Damned for it. There are a lot of things that, you know, they try and progress this. This book was actually published after Hero in the Shadows was, and we're introduced quite later on into the book to Astarte. She's brought back into this. And there are a lot of things to where they're trying to like suck in as much of the mythology over the course of the Gemmell saga as possible. Somehow Waylander's crossbow is brought into this. That's never quite disclosed how. We get hints at it, but it doesn't really make sense to me. We have dress brought into this. We're referencing past events, which I have no problems with, because before you read this, I really recommend that you go back and read Druss's First Chronicles first, because it ties heavily into this book. Basically, the entire quest is, or at least for Skilganon on his selfish part, after he drops the priest off at Melikane, is that he's looking for this place called the Temple of the Resurrectionist. He was married while he was Gienna's general, and he wants to do everything he can to bring his wife back to life. And this book is all right as it progresses as a story. There are a few things about it, like I said, that bugged me, like plot points that don't really make a lot of sense. We're introduced a lot more to the old woman's background. They confirm here that Hula, the old woman, is in fact the same witch from the first two Waylander books. She's brought back into this, her history with Druss, and actually her history with Skilgan, because a lot of the major heroes that David Gemmell wrote about in more than one book, this old woman has had ties to them. And in fact, we learn that she not only made Druss's axe, but she also made quite a few weapons besides the axe and Gorbin's sword. She actually made Skilganon's weapons, and they're based off a copy of another set of swords called the Swords of Blood and Fire. Now, both of these weapons are possessed by demons, but the Blood and Fire swords were made by somebody else, and Hula tried to corrupt them herself. Now, the whole thing about if you read about the demon and the axe, and you know how Gorbin was acting when he had his possessed sword, this is slowly eating away at Skilganon, and they kind of have a metaphor with him here. And this is just me more rambling. Quickly, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. It's a good book, and it hugely foreshadows what follows to be the conclusion of the Draenei Saga, and I'll deal with that in the next review. This isn't bad. There are a few things here that kind of stop and make me go, what the fuck? But honestly, it's a really good book. A lot more character background on Skilganon. I like the flashbacks of it, and I really recommend that any fans of the Draenei Saga go and give this a read. I think they'll like it.